All right, we're getting back on the streets. We're getting back on the 911. All right, we're back on the streets cruising. Man, I love dividend investing. I really love it. It's fun. It's like collecting something. It's like collecting coins or something. I don't know. Pokemon cards, whatever you're into. I don't collect anything other than cash flow. But it's fun. It's fun because it's like I'm sacrificing who I am today for what I know I'm going to become. You know what I mean? Like I'm sacrificing the money that I have right now because I know if I put it away, it's going to sit and it's going to make babies. Like I know if I buy, $1 worth of SCHD, it's going to make me 4 cents forever, pretty much. And grow over time, too. It doesn't sound like much, but over time it's pretty powerful. So today I picked up a little bit more UPS stock. It's such a small portion of my portfolio that if UPS went bankrupt and they cut the dividend, it's not going to really kill me. But it's enough to where it can boost my yield by $100 or $50 or $1,000 a year, So actually it's giving me about $2,000 more a year in income. But I like it. It's like collecting. Because I can sit and I can wait and I can see if UPS can turn the story around, and I'm getting paid 7% dividend while I wait. And if they do turn the story around, then I get rewarded. And if they don't, they cut the dividend and then I just dump it and sell it. But the chances of that are a little lower, I think, than the turnaround story. And maybe it's not a turnaround story, but maybe I continue to just get the cash flow. Oh, so someone left a comment. They said, don't take any offense, but I want to ask you, did you get the sports car because you felt like it was like the natural progression to just get, like when you made more money, to just get a nicer, fancier car? And I totally got exactly what he was saying. But for me, it was a little bit different. I was always into cars. There's a few reasons why, but the main reason is when I was a little kid, my parents were divorced, but my stepdad moved into our house maybe when I was like 5 or 6. And he was a mechanic. He worked on the machines at McCormick and Schmidt, the spice company, like the spices you can buy in the store, McCormick. And he worked on the machines at like the factory or whatever. And he would buy cars. He would get cars like it was like an addiction, honestly, for him. But he would buy like old '69 Camaro. I remember he bought '67 Chevelle. It was a Malibu, but I remember I think he did a bunch of stuff to it and then ended up putting the Super Sport logo on it. But we had 16 cars, I feel like, almost throughout the time that he was buying and selling cars. I want to say that it was 16 cars in 1 year, but I'm exaggerating. But I remember like being out front of my house rollerblading. I was so young, I was rollerblading with like one of those like old school 80s looking, not 80s, but like starter jacket. It wasn't a starter jacket, but like a bomber jacket. Do you remember the type where like there was fabric around the wrists and around the bottom of the jacket that was like elastic? One of those jackets. And I was like rollerblading out front of the house, like out front of my house on the driveway. And like my dad left my house. My stepdad left my house and he took his S10. He had a blue S10. He left. And about a couple hours later, we hear like boom, 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 coming down the street. And I'm like, what the hell? It was a yellow Mustang Boss. The thing was mean, dude. It had the black logo down the side that said Boss. And he came pulling in the driveway, and all the kids in the neighborhood were like outside. They were playing kickball and stuff. Everybody came running up to the car, and he's sitting in the driveway, revving it like, and I'm like, just like, oh, dude. Little by little, I'm just starting to like cars more and more, as a little kid. Oh, if you guys didn't know, the 911 has a wet mode. I think it tones it down a little bit. But then, what other cars? He had every Corvette you can think of. We had a Stingray. We had the Corvette with the T-tops. We had a Z28 Camaro, like a slightly newer one with the plastic fins going down the rear window. We had a El Camino. We had a Cutlass, classic Cutlass. We had 2 Fox body Mustangs. We had a red Jeep Cherokee. What else did we have? A Geo Prism. That was my mom's. But the whole time my mom was driving this little tiny white Geo Prism. What else did we have? He was just, dude, he was buying and selling cars for years. I'm trying to think what the heck. He had awards and stuff because he'd work on them in the garage. He got, like from car shows, he got an award for the Camaro. He had it painted white. He sent the body out and everything. But so I grew up around the cars like that. And then I ended up getting my first car, which was a 1989 Ford Escort. And then at the time, Fast and Furious was out, and they had the black Civics in the beginning with those neon lights under them, and they were chasing the tractor trailer. And I wanted that car so bad, and there was a used one. The paint was all faded on the hood and stuff. I told this in a video before, but I got that car, the 95 Civic. I had like lowered it and stuff. It was a manual. So that was my first like love for cars. But while all this is happening, I'm growing up and I'm skateboarding and I'm watching skate videos and stuff. And I'm watching guys like Josh Kalis and Stevie Williams. And Josh Kalis, if anybody remembers him, he's a skateboarder from Philly. Well, he had an M5. And he had it from skateboarding. I was like, dude, I'm going to be a pro skateboarder and I'm going to get an M5. And at the same time, my neighbor had an M3, a wide body M3, Matt Luongo's dad. He had a bunch of BMWs. He was like a BMW enthusiast guy. He lived like, not right near us, but near us. We could skate to his house. And his dad took us in the M3. And then my love for cars even accelerated. But the combination of the M3, wide body with the M logo down the side, on top of me watching Josh Kalis with the M5, and then me watching my stepdad building cars, and then me having the manual Civic, I was like, it just accelerated. And then I always had this infatuation for cars. So when I started going to community college, I went there for 1 year, but I had to take so many prerequisite classes that it didn't even make sense. And I decided to just leave there and go to school to be a mechanic. Because while I was going to school to community college, I was working at Pep Boys. I worked there for 3 years selling car parts because I was already into cars, you know. So then that accelerated it even more. I wanted to be a mechanic. I've always liked cars, is what I'm getting at. But I didn't go get the dream car. I was driving the Civic, then I had a Mazda Millennia. It was supercharged, V6 with leather interior. I remember I was all psyched because you turn the key off and the steering wheel would go up automatically. I had that car, it was used. I had a Volkswagen MK3, the regular Golf, but 4-door. I had a WRX, because I got an inheritance from my uncle when he passed away. He gave my brother and I each, it was like, I want to say it was $18,000 each. My brother is super smart. He's like, my brother's the guy that like, he gets Halloween candy and he'll still have the bag of Halloween candy the next year, like in his room. I'm like, the first night I like kill all the candy, you know what I mean? And trade it and eat it all. So literally the first day I get the money, I'm like, dude, I'm going to buy a WRX. I'm getting a WRX. My brother's like, oh my gosh, dude. This is the type of brother my brother is. He lends me his money from his inheritance, so I had enough to pay cash for the WRX. It was like 20-some thousand. I get the WRX brand new, straight off the showroom floor. So that was the first car where I was like, just dumb. But I still didn't have a payment. I paid for it cash, which is crazy. You know, I'm so dumb. If I would have invested that money, oh my gosh. Back then, who even knows what it'd be now. But I got the WRX, and then that's when things kind of went south because I thought I was going to move to California. We all thought we were moving to California. So I sold the car at CarMax, and I went and bought a cheap little Toyota Corolla. I bought the cheap little Toyota Corolla, and I drove that for years and years and years. When I got married, when I met my wife, I had that. When I had my first kid, I had that. But then once I got to where the business was doing good, I didn't get the car with a payment. I'll tell you what car I got too. I didn't get the car until I had, at the time, we had 3 paid for rental properties. I had a paid for home. My home was paid for, brand new construction. And I had my wife's car completely paid for. And then I went up to the BMW dealership and I got a brand new Donington Gray. It was in 2019 M5. The car I watched Josh Kalis pull up at Love Park with. But the modern new version. And that was the first time that I splurged and got the car. And I got my own money, you know, like had a payment. But I didn't do it until I had the cash flow from the rental properties paying the lease. And then a lot of people, there's a natural progression from BMW to Porsche. The way I got to Porsche was actually, I've always loved the way they looked. Like, I've always admired them, but they were always out of my price range. And I never, actually, when I got the M5, I didn't even care about Porsche. I was so obsessed with M5 and that power of the M5. I always called it like the Godfather, because I thought it was just a beast. I was like, dude, I'm getting an M5. And you want to know why I sold the M5? I sold the M5 because it had this mildew smell. In Florida, it happens a lot. Almost every BMW I ever had, even my X5M did it. I had got this mildew smell. I changed the cabin air filter. We cleaned the evaporator. We did everything we could. I couldn't get rid of it. And I just couldn't stand it. I would start the car and it would get this like moldy smell that would come out. So then I finally, that's not why I got rid of it. I actually got rid of it to downsize at the time. I go through these phases where I'm like, I'm balls to the wall, freaking Paul Wall. Give me some, you know what I mean? And then there's other times where I'm like, we got to tighten up. I'm like, the Amish are the only ones that are doing it right. What are we doing? We got to tighten up. And I sell everything and try to downsize. And then things do go good again. And then I'm like, let's freaking go hard, man. So the Porsche, though, I went to California with my wife on a trip. And I wanted to make it like real special because we hadn't gone anywhere in a long time. And I rented a Porsche Boxster. And I rented that car, and dude, when I got in it and put the top down and started it, and I was driving through Mulholland Drive in the canyons, and I heard that mid-engine behind me going, oh, dude, I was like, oh my gosh, I see why people want these. And then I started getting obsessed with Porsches. I started watching YouTube videos, looking them up on Instagram constantly, and I just started obsessing and obsessing and obsessing. At the time, I was driving Range Rover Discovery, so or Land Rover Discovery. I wasn't driving like a sports car. I had like a family car. And then it just kept progressing and progressing and progressing. And then in 2022, when I saw the rates were going up and I thought I had a bunch of rental properties, I decided to sell them all cash. And I just went to cash. I didn't want to go to 1031 exchange and get more properties or anything. And then at the time, I just thought, gosh, I've worked so hard for so long, for so much time. I thought I was in that phase where I was like, we're balling, baby. I told you I go through these ebbs and flows like that. You've seen it on the channel already. I went and bid and bought a $285,000 993, and then like half a year later, I'm selling it. So man, doesn't it feel like Wendy's is always like on the edge of collapse? And then sometimes some towns, Wendy's look all new and modern. That's a good stock. I want to look up Wendy's. I feel like they have a good dividend. I'm not saying it's a good stock. I'm just saying I'll check it out. But so I said, you know what? I'm taking the money and I'm freaking getting the 911. So you know what I did? I went and I drove to West Palm Beach, and I went to, I think it was like Bremen Porsche, and I freaking bought the 911. It was a used one. On the ride home, I had the baby seat in the back. And I'm like, oh my gosh, dude. Oh, this seat is still scratched from the ride home when I bought it. Look, you see this right here? See this mark? That's because I had to jam the car seat in the back. I had to jam the car seat in the back seat because my son was with me. And I didn't realize it was vibrating the whole entire ride home. So I get home, I see that, I'm like, damn it. But that night, I'm sitting there and I said to my wife, oh man, what did I do? I've got a 2-seater. Basically, I'm like, this is not realistic. We got to take our kids to like sports and stuff. I'm like, what am I going to do? She's like, oh man. I'm like, oh. I was like, I never thought I'd have a third car. I said, I had all the money from the rentals. It was a dumb move. Like, it was just an emotional thing. And I thought I was in one of those weird mindsets again, like where you regret it later on. But I'm like, you know what? I'm like, maybe I'll get what do you think if I got like another little small like SUV, like a daily driver, and then I have this sports car. It's paid for. It's my dream. I just park it. I'll drive it when weekends, whatever. So then she's like, I don't care, She's like, whatever. I was like, I'm gonna pay cash for it. I'm not gonna have a payment or anything. And then I went up to BMW. I was driving around the lot, and I pull up out front, and there's a brand new X5M, black, with like literally limo tent all the way around and the windshield. And I noticed that the part of the exhaust wasn't on, And I look in the window, and they had all these exhaust pipes inside the car, inside the SUV. I'm like, what is this? So I went in, and I'm like, what's up with that X5M out there? The guy's like, oh, that's the owner's. The guy who owns the dealership. He just had it delivered. And this was, keep in mind, 2022, I want to say. 2023, maybe? Yeah, 2022. And at that time, you couldn't get cars. Remember, I don't know if you guys remember, but a little bit after COVID, you couldn't get anything. And everything was all marked up. And I'm like, would he sell it? He's like, maybe. And I was like, what's that exhaust in there? He's like, oh, that's a full Arkapovich exhaust. That thing's got the Escort 360 radar detection all the way around it. He's like, it's got everything. I ended up ordering a Dynan cold air intake. If I can find pictures, I'll put it on the screen at the end of the video. And I'm like, dude, I want it. I don't even need to test drive it. I'm like, let's get the papers. And then they knew I got the M5 from him, so I had a little relationship with him. And I was like, let's do it. So he's like, let me talk to him. He came back out. He's like, he'll sell it to you. I was like, all right. So I freaking bought it, and I drove off. And yeah, and it was a kind of a dumb decision, but at that moment I'm explaining how I didn't just get the nicer car because I like nicer cars. I did it because I'm obsessed with cars like a fool, and I keep doing the same mistake over and over and over with cars. But I've liked them since I was a little kid, you know. So everybody has their thing. But I even like that Scion, the TC. I can remember liking those and wanting to get one and hook it up. I just like cars, you know. But if you are somebody that's not that into cars and you feel like you're just trying to get a nicer vehicle because you feel like you're getting wealthy and you want to just keep up with the Joneses, maybe it's not the thing, you know. Even sometimes I think about downsizing and not having this car. It's honestly, it's a dumb thing. It's a liability at the end of the day, but it does bring me a lot of joy. I love it. I visually like looking at it. I love the sound of the turbos. I'm like proud of the items I picked. I like the Tech-R body kit and the AL13 wheels and the spec I got on the wheels and the way it's dialed in on the stance. Like, I like those things, you know. So, but don't put yourself in a position where you're just buying something because you are just wanting to, I don't know, you get what I'm saying, I don't know. But at the end of the day, I think at the end of I always like to picture things really bad. Like, I like to picture things around me like they are bad. I do it all the time in my mind. I try to think back to that day when the stock market was dumping and COVID, everything was getting locked down and everybody's like freaking out. And it's like, am I going to have a job? Are we going to make sales? Can we ship a product? What is going on? At that moment, dude, I didn't care. If the car was in the garage, I didn't care. You don't care about anything. It's just like when you're sick. I think about this all the time. Every single time I'm sick and I'm laying in bed, I think, oh, you don't care about anything. You don't care about dividend stocks. You don't even care if you have any money in your bank account. You're just like, I just want to get better, dude. I don't even care. You're like, I do not care. Nothing else matters. You just want to get better. So it's like, at the end of the day, we realize it's our health is the number one thing. But what I'm saying is, I like to think of those things sometimes and then kind of like turn off all the static of everything around me, because it is easy for me too to get like, absorbed by all these things, you know. I get sucked into them. That's why I don't have personal Instagram. I deleted it from my phone, because it happens with me with Instagram. I start looking at cars, and then I'm on Bring a Trailer, and I'm like, and it's just, it all comes down to like just making stupid decisions in the short term, and then it's like in the long term, things aren't that complicated. All we need to do is just work hard, live below our means, keep saving money, keep investing, take care of our family, take care of our health, just be a good person. And it's like, really, at the end of the day, it's like, those are the meat and potatoes. I always think of that, like, what's the main course of the meal? And all these other things are side dishes. And it's like, if you get to a point where you got the money to get this extra side dish and something you really fantasize about and you love it and you want to enjoy it, just splurge and just freaking get the mac and cheese. You know what I mean? Like, I don't even know what I'm talking about, but you get what I'm saying. There's the X5 right there.
Ooh. All right. Woo. This is light work.